Good morning, everyone. Today I am on the road, so I'm going to make a very quick vlog today, another Smart Knowledge U vlog 13, and I'm going to expand upon some of the points on Smart Knowledge U vlogs number 11 and 12. Yes, I'm on the road, so I don't have a mic, so I make these videos whenever I can, sometimes at 3 in the morning, sometimes at 10 in the morning, just whenever I have time. I always don't have a mic, so I apologize if the audio is not up to par, but I'm traveling on the road and this is the best I can do. So I just want to expand upon the points where I talk about the importance of locking in profits on gold and silver assets, because as we all know, gold and silver prices are manipulated tremendously by Western bankers that have a desire to keep the US dollar global banking Ponzi scheme going. And as we have seen with the US stock markets, which we had tremendous success in our subscription services last year and shorting 3 times and each time making profits, shorting the US stock markets, we got out right before we were shorting again earlier this year, but we got out right before the US stock markets were ramped up higher again. I believe the Dow has been ramped by over 1,250 points, at least over 1,000 points. I haven't looked at the exact stats lately. And the S&P 500 went up another like 7.5% since the lows. So again, this shows you that the Western bankers still have control. Now it's ridiculous because a lot of people out there will say that all these people that talk about gold and silver price suppression schemes always complain when it's suppressed to the downside, but they never admit that the prices are manipulated to the upside. And of course they are manipulated to the upside. That's as stupid as saying that oil was manipulated up to $150 a barrel by Goldman Sachs traders who knew of I can't remember the oil hedge fund that was shorting, and they had inside information and took advantage of that and ramped it up, and not admitting also that the bankers are in the futures markets also manipulating the price downward as well. So we know that bankers will manipulate any way they can make a profit. And if they can make a profit manipulating gold and silver assets to the upside, they will do that as well, because we obviously do not yet have free market price behavior, as can be seen that the bankers still have control over even squeezing shorts or manipulating US stock markets higher, as we've seen them do recently. So that is just a little bit of warning, and we've seen a verification from Eric Hunsater, who was the founder of Nanex, who was recently paid a $750,000 whistleblowing fee for proving beyond dispute and beyond any kind of debate that the New York Stock Exchange had manipulated stock prices higher in 2010, and he showed precisely how they were doing that using high frequency trading, algorithmic software. And he was recently on CNBC, and it's kind of funny because CNBC actually asked a question, as if they're some type of trailblazer exposing the truth in a financial industry, saying, given the history of the markets, isn't it true that markets are always manipulated? When just a few years ago they would laugh and try to marginalize and make out people who said US stock markets were being manipulated as conspiracy kooks and tinfoil hat wearers, even though the Bank of Japan had admitted for years that they had directly intervened in the Japanese stock market indexes and directly bought Japanese stocks to prop the stock markets up. If anyone had ever brought up the fact that the Federal Reserve was intervening in the US stock futures markets and buying up the indexes, the future indexes of US stock market indexes, people were laughed at just several years ago, even when it was obvious that an institution with the financial means of the Federal Reserve had to be the player that was in the game at the time. So it's very interesting. And then Eric Hunsater said, yes, of course they're still manipulated, but does that mean, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have the exact transcript in front of me, but he said, does that mean if someone is mugged in New York, we don't have to care? So he's saying, of course, they're still manipulated, we still have to care. And that's why I am actually releasing this warning to people who think that gold and silver assets are now behaving freely and especially the mining stocks, they think they're just free to go higher and higher and higher because the bankers have typically always manipulated these assets to the upside and to the downside. So I think there's a large risk right now in a lot of the mining stocks. I would love to see them blow through and keep going higher, but history has told us that whenever we see these kind of rapid movements up, that a lot of times the bankers will slam the prices down as well. So just be prepared, and there's no harm in, I can't understand the mentality of people who get upset with profits because they left some profits on the table. So as long as you're profitable, you should always be happy, and that's always been my stance, because you have to manage risk intelligently, and by managing, instead of trying to hit a home run every time that will lead to 5 or 6 strikeouts, you got to be happy with hitting some singles here and there, and keep building and preserving your wealth in that manner as well. And one last thing I wanted to say was also the fact that I've been talking about gold and silver price manipulation since for almost a decade now. And in fact, in 2008, I had a documented communication with Commodities Futures Trading Commission Commissioner Bart Chilton, in which I provided data for him to look at, that in which I speculated that traders in New York were slamming the price of gold down a lot of times of waterfall declines that happen in a span of 10 to 30 minutes, in which gold would fall 30, 40, 50, $60 an ounce within a very short time frame in a waterfall decline when the COMEX opened up in New York. So and I'll put a link to that in the video description below if you're watching this on YouTube, so you can go back and read that communication I had with Bart Chilton in 2008, and that was over 7 years ago. So I wish I could get some of that $750,000 whistleblower money, because it's obvious, and only a fool would basically assert that gold and silver markets are not manipulated by bankers today, both to the downside and to the upside. And as was proven recently by Barclays banker James Plunkett, I believe it was in 2012, he got caught. And he's one banker that was proven capable of manipulating the gold futures market, where basically he manipulated it downward so Barclays Bank would not be obligated to pay out a $3.9 million settlement to a client that was long gold futures at the time. Now it's funny, because even the Financial Conduct Authority of the UK in the report about this said that Daniel Plunkett was able to exploit weaknesses in Barclays banking system, which is ridiculous to think that and to state that, because obviously Barclays was on board with what, they always present someone that's manipulating markets as this rogue trader that's acting without the authority or without the knowledge of his superiors, just like CEO HSBC CEO, what's his name? His name is escaping me, but how he denied knowing anything about HSBC's huge multi-billion-dollar laundering scheme for the Sinaloa drug cartel. And these people always fake ignorance of what's going on right beneath their noses, which is, it's really unbelievable, and it's not credible that their superiors don't know what's going on. So with all this knowledge around us, just be wary of perhaps a correction. I am still very bullish for the entire year for 2016, but it's not going to be without volatility. People think that gold and silver just keep rising, and there won't be any volatility. So at this time, I think there's a high risk a banker rate in gold and silver. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to visit us at smartknowledgeu.com to check out our services, our subscription services, as well as you can visit our website there to subscribe to our free newsletter, in which we also provide a lot of great free analysis of markets and what's going on, both U.S. stock markets, Chinese stock markets, gold and silver, and so forth. So thanks a lot for watching. As always, remain intensely curious, and until next time, so long.